In the video tutorials today, you learned about function arguments. Now we're going to run a few experiments to give you a more in-depth understanding about functions and about arguments. So the first experiment. In the getToDo's function definition, I want to change this toDo's local to file path. And I want to ask you to try to guess what the output of the program is going to be after I press here add turn off the lights. So if I press enter now, try to guess what output are we going to get, or what error are we going to get, or where the error would occur. Okay, so I'm going to press enter now, and it's obviously an error happened at this line 21, which is in here. So this is a training more about to understand errors than it is about arguments. So let's try to understand this error and try to fix it. When we get an error in a certain line, that means the code from that line and up was correct. So the interpreter executed the lines above the error line and then it stopped at that error line. That means the function is correct, the other function is correct, all these lines are also fine up to line 20. So even line 20, in line 20 we got the output of the function correctly, we store that output in toDo's. The problem is that now when the interpreter tries to use the append method over the toDo's variable, it says that this variable does not have the appropriate type associated with that method. So that is an attribute error. An attribute error means the method does not exist for that object. Before it existed because before we returned a list, but now we return a string. File path is a string, right? We give this string to getToDo's, so that replaces file path, and we return todos.txt, and therefore todos.txt does not have an append method because it is a string. So that is the logic here. Therefore, I want to change it back to toDo's local and continue with the next experiment. For the next experiment, I want you to try to reassign file path to a new file name. Let's say todos1.txt, not toDo's. Again, try to guess what will the output be when I run the script, and again I try to add turn off the lights and I press enter. What is going to happen when I press enter now? That's the add condition. So I'll press enter now, and again we have an error. This time the error has two parts. It first occurred at this line, so that's why here it says most recent call last. That means first the error occurred here, and then the most recent is the last one here. So in other words, the interpreter first found out that it could not execute line 20, which is in here. So it tried to store that output in the toDo's variable, but it could not because of another error in line 3. So line 3 is where that getToDo's function is stored. Line 3 says that file not found error, no such file or directory todos1.txt. So line 3 is this one in here. We tried to open todos1.txt in read mode, but you cannot do that over a file which does not exist. So read mode does not work for inexisting files. If it was right, the file would be created from scratch, even if that didn't exist. But that's not the case with read mode. So this also helps us to make the point that you can reassign a value to the argument. So an argument is just a variable. Basically, when you say file path here, and when you call the function in line 20, so when you say get todos.txt, at that point, an implicit variable declaration occurs. The variable declaration is file path is equal to todos.txt. So at that point of the execution of the program, a variable is created. That variable is a local variable of this function, and then that variable can get other values, just like variables do. Normally, you can create a variable x is equal to 1, and then you can reassign it to 3, etc. So the same goes here, that will reassign a new value to variable file path. So let me delete that, and those were the 2 experiments I wanted to try out today. I hope this helps. See you later.